As I'm moving this down, you keep in mind that the direction that this larger arrow is facing, that's the part that's going to be deleted. So it's kind of hard to, with a shape like this, to really delete everything that I want because the legs are not exactly on a flat plane. But one thing I can do is get kind of close, and then I can delete the rest kind of manually. So in this case, maybe I don't want to take off too much, and then I'll try to do the rest manually. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll accept that. So we got most of it, but there's still some left here. So what I'm going to do to kind of get rid of the rest of this stuff is I'm going to hit select. Oh, I gotta select the object. And then I'm going to switch to a lasso. And then I'm just going to go ahead and start kind of chopping away at it. So I've got this selection here. And I've tried it before doing an erase and fill, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes, especially when it's only a thin amount of material, sometimes it's a little glitchy. So another thing you can do is simply to discard it, and then we can make it solid later as a way to fill it. So I hit discard, and now you can see it's hollow here. So I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to hit select, switch it to lasso, and then I'm just kind of drawing from this angle. I can't get everything, but you can just get a part of it. Edit, discard, or X. I'm just going to do that again. X. So they're not perfect, but just for for the sake of this demo, that should work. And so this would not be 3D printable as it currently is. So what do? We go to Edit. Actually, I always forget. It's Command A, and then Edit from here. Modify. Oh, I was right the first time. Edit, make solid. And you can see the resolution changed again. So that's because every time you do a make solid function, you've got these parameters to control again. So I'm just going to accept it as it is. It's fine for now. I could have maybe taken my time a little more with these, but that's all right. We'll make it work. Okay. So I've got this line. I've removed the base, and let's say I want to add my second object. So now I can go File, Import, and when you do that, it's going to ask you, do you want to append it or do you want to replace it? So I don't want to replace this. I want to keep them. So I'm going to hit Append. And now, if I go to my folder where I've been saving, so one of the objects I saved was the hand of Adam. This is also a museum object. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Open. And it'll give me a message occasionally that says the meshes in the appended file are much larger than the rest of the current scene. Would you like Meshmixer to try and automatically repair this? So this can happen often if sometimes you'll import an object that's much bigger. Maybe it's because one object was imported in metric and another was imported in inches or feet. It can also happen simply if one of the objects you're importing was like a scan of a building, right, and the other was like a scan of a toy. So I usually let Meshmixer append it and change the scale. It helps you, saves you a step. Boom, so now I've got this hand. And if I hit T, right, then I can bring up this gumball and I can transform it and adjust it. So one idea could be to have a hand kind of holding objects that are autobiographical, or other ways of containing objects that are autobiographical. So I'm going to go ahead and change the scale in a way that I could theoretically add all kinds of objects to this hand. And you've got to take your time to make sure they're actually overlapping, because I'm trying to imagine this object being 3D printed. I'm going to accept that placement, and maybe I'll move to the lion now. Hit T, and I'll see where I want this guy to be. Maybe he can be a little smaller, so I could fit other objects into my design. It's kind of sunk in there a bit too much. Let's move him over here. I think it's mostly touching. I think that pause maybe not. So anyways, you can play with these things. Play with the composition, the placement. Once you're happy, you hit accept. You can always go back in there and adjust it. And usually I think it's a good idea to save a version which has all of your objects separate. So I might go and save as, and I could even have this be, the same name of your file, but have it be, so this may be my autobiographical cluster, and then this could be my backup, right? So this is my backup file. And then what I may want to do is, once I'm satisfied, let's just pretend this was my final object. Then I could select, this was the original one. Let's see, let me widen this. So I think that was the original high resolution one. And so I actually don't really need that, so I can clean that out, delete him. And now these are the two objects that I'm working with currently. Let's just pretend this is my autobiographical cluster with all my objects. I could select them both, and then I could do a Boolean union. And if I'm happy with it, I can hit accept. So now this is one single STL, right? So this is 3D printable. And from there, I can export this as my final object. So I've got my autobiographical cluster, final. So that would be the kind of workflow that you might go through as you're finishing up these pieces. Just a heads up. So what we've got is over here, these are the different objects that you can download. Just remember, if you're going to download one of these, what you're looking for is just the STL of the object. So if you hit download from this particular site, it's going to ask you whether you want to join the community and get these other functions, or download only. Download only is fine. And then if I download this object, this is a big one, 36 megabytes. And it is in .stl, so that's really what I wanted to point out here. It's just to make sure you've got either a .stl or a .obj file. Okay, I think that's it for now. Email me if you have any questions. Thanks.